Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Dark Season 2, Episode 7. It's called The White Devil. So, full spoilers for the episode as always. Do you know, this show is determined to make things more complicated, and there's one particular
Do you
plot.
think? I don't think there's anything complicated here at all.
It's going to become complicated.
I'm kidding.
There's one plot line in this episode in particular where I feel like we're really murkying the waters of lineages, shall we say.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And
so-
not in the people we'd maybe expected.
No. Because I think we always assumed that some of the kids would go back and end up being their own grandparents or something. And now I can't help but wonder is, who is Hannah now the grandparent or parent of, outside of Jördis?
Yeah.
Although, notably, so the hint at the end, I know we're kind of not going in order as we normally do here, but I think it's important to start at this end for this one. So Hannah's in the 50s, she goes to see Ulrich, we'll talk about that scene in a minute, but the ending hints that her and Egon are going to start something, right? And the episode even starts with him talking to the other guy about, like, not being happy in his marriage, and he's like, play around, go do things, go cheating your wife. And they share this glance. He recognizes the name Nielsen because she pretends to be Katharina Nielsen. And I was like trying to remember, like, did they ever say that Katharina was like named after someone in the family or something like that? Like, is she somehow related to Hannah? I was trying really hard to think about it. But my big caveat here, though, and maybe you'll tell me otherwise here, but as far as I'm aware, there's been no hint or mention that Claudia has any kind of siblings, which she would have if Egon has a kid with Hannah.
There has been no mention of it.
No mention of it.
But that doesn't mean that she doesn't.
That's true. That's very
Especially
true.
if it was, it would be, a different mother, right? So things can get family life situation could be complicated.
They didn't live with her, went off to do other things. I don't know. But no, when it became clear in that ending scene that she was going to stay here, and they were making the eyes at each other, I was like, oh god,
Just what we needed.
I know, like we're just murking things up, and just as we were getting to the point where all the relevant characters were kind of getting to know the previous one, they're all starting to understand that Mikkel was Michael, and that Jonas is Mikkel's son, like, because more characters learn that this episode, everything that seems to be more on the table than it ever has been for the vast majority of relevant characters. And then we add in this one, and this was the thing. There was a moment when Hannah was in the car with young Egon, and they were on the way to the psychiatric hospital, the prison, whatever it is. It's a psychiatric hospital. They call it that, but it looks more like a prison to me.
Psychiatric ward.
Ward,
maybe.
sure. Yeah.
Because it's like it's just an area of a prison.
Of a prison.
That's the psychiatric area.
It definitely looked like a prison, though. Like
it does. Yeah.
Everything about it felt prison-like, but. In the car on the way there, and he says, "Oh, so you and your," because she pretends to be Katharina Nielsen, his wife, right? And he says, "Oh, so you and your husband have kids, right?" And she's like, "No," and all I could think was, she's actually making him seem more crazy. If they believe that this, and obviously by the end of the episode, she's like, "Nah, it looks like him, but it's not really my husband." So Egon doesn't necessarily think it is him, but I immediately start to think. Well, we know where he ends up, that he's still in the ward, he's still in a hospital in the 80s, right? We know that he's not getting out here, at least not for any extended period. And I was like, Hannah could very easily be cruel here and make him look even crazier and play this up and not help him.
And so she does.
And so she does. But I was getting that sinking feeling on the way where I'm like, she could be evil here out of spite. And we were thinking a few episodes ago, like, could she redeem herself? Could because there was some awful elements of her character, especially towards the end of season 1. Like, does she go in another direction? And
now that she knows everything, does she kind of come around a bit? Nope.
No, she doubles down. They're meeting at the bar. They're left alone, but they're at like bars, like through the bars, and he's in a straitjacket. And it takes him a minute to realize who he's looking at. He's kind of crazy. He's been here for a year at this point.
Give or take, yeah.
And he's sort of, he's got snot hanging off of his nose. He looks delightfully disgusting. And very quickly, because he's very happy to see her, because this is someone from the future, this is someone that can help me. Have you seen Mikkel? You know, he's asking like the appropriate things, and very quickly she turns the conversation. You know, and all the time we were together, I don't think you ever said I love you to me, and you're like, you're making this about that? He's trapped in the 50s looking for his son, and you're making this about your relationship?
Yeah.
Not that I'm surprised. You know, because it's
she's
her.
a terrible person.
Yeah. But like, you know, I'm surprised in a larger sense, in a broad human nature sense, I guess.
Yeah.
and he's like, I love you, and you kind of get the feeling that he's just saying this because he knows he has to say it right now.
Yeah, because at first he's just saying that, and then he's like, get me out of here, and I'll leave Katharina, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, I'll do anything you want, and it's just like, okay, no, this is clearly just desperation. It is not meaning any of this. Or even if he does mean it and follows through on it, it's kind of meaningless.
Yeah. And here's the problem for him is that I think she senses the entire time that he's just saying it because he knows that's what she wants to hear, and because he wants help. And she has all the power in this moment, and she just backs away. And I think he drops a C-bomb on her as he's been dragged away by the guards. He is angry. This is how they end, presumably, their relationship for good.
I'd have thought so, yeah. And it's weird because obviously, making him look even crazier, he's yelling out Hannah.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's not a name.
That's not a name. Yeah.
Makes him seem way, even worse that he's like that deluded. He's completely just thought this was someone else entirely.
Do you think that in the next episode, in the finale, we've got one episode left, do you think that in the finale we will solidify who Hannah kind of becomes in the timeline? Like, who she's connected to because of this?
I think so.
You think we'll get that before the end of the season? Yeah. I hope so. This is going to get wacky.
If she is Katharina's mother, what?
Why Katharina's mother? Why are we going to that conclusion?
Oh no, yeah, you're right.
I'd say grandmother. If anything, she could be a grandmother.
Yeah, grandmother. Right. What relation then does that make Jonas and Martha?
They're both aunt and nephew, but also
but on top of that,
he would be her. No, wait, hold on. Right, so Hannah has Jonas. That's her son. Hannah then goes back in time and has a great grandchild. So he'd also be her great uncle.
So he's a great uncle at the same time as being a nephew.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this show.
And she obviously, in terms of the opposites, is both the aunt and the great niece at the same time.
Yeah.
That's assuming she's related to. It was just because she's using that name, I couldn't help but think, like, was Katharina named that because it's after like a relative,
Yeah.
They're like, oh well, yeah. Oh, I don't know. I mean, we have no idea. Specifically assume Katharina. It was just because of the use of the name, but like, like she's going to end up being someone else's mother or grandmother. Like it's
almost certainly.
It's happening. Again, the only thing going against that is that we've not heard about Egon having another kid. Which, I mean, that's assuming she sticks with Egon. Maybe this is just like a fling, and then she moves on to
exactly. Yeah,
she moves on to someone else.
I mean, these four families are far more interconnected than anyone realized.
They're all one family. I'm just going to say it now. Wherever we're going in the final season, they're all essentially one big family.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, the Nielsen's and the Canwells are already linked. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm just trying to think if there's a way to connect the Dopplers and the Tiedemans directly, outside of the occasional affair or whatever, because we know that Tronte Nielsen was having an affair with Claudia Tiedemann.
Yeah.
But not necessarily anything came from that.
That we know of. No.
That we know of. But very murky. But like, so it was this thing when she makes the conscious choice not to go back. She makes the choice to stay. I mean, even the fact that she steals the time machine at the start of the episode from when Jonas is asleep. It's like, yep, she's abandoning him,
leaving him a bit stuck there for now.
Yeah, it's a good job. Magnus is running around with a time machine.
Yeah, good job. These things keep popping up, innit?
Well, I mean, that leads us on to Jonas and Martha. Martha has a scene beforehand, though, where she's with the other kids and they're debating whether or not they should tell someone about everything that they've kind of experienced. And Barthel's like,
she's like, hey, he's back.
Yeah, he left me this coin thingamajig. He's back. And Barthel's like, no, we should tell someone. I think we should all tell. I was like, there's no we, Bartos. Piss it off. You've been holding it on us all these months, so no, nothing to do with you prick. But she goes round to see Jonas. Well, she's round to see Hannah, right? She's not expecting him necessarily to be there, but she's kind of hoping that she'll know that if he is back, that he might, where he is, if he might be there. And she comes in and she's like, "Who are you?" And then he references some dialogue they had back early season 1. Which
I'm glad he continued with the line, because the first part I was like, that's not specific enough. Because she's saying, "Oh, sorry, I just had deja vu," and he goes, "Oh, glitch in the Matrix." I'm like, that's not specific enough to be unique to him to say that to remind her.
I mean, to an extent, but it was that exact exchange they had.
No, it was. I think the follow-up part where, where he's saying, something trying to tell us something, or whatever, and he goes, "Oh, I read it in a book somewhere."
Yeah, well,
when it went into that part, it was fine.
Yeah, but you say that as if she immediately knew who it was. She just had like a spark, and then he kept going, and then he mentioned even finding the pendant like together.
No. I mean, when it went on, it was fine, but she froze kind of immediately when he said, "Oh, a glitch in the Matrix," and I thought that was a bit of an overreaction for just that, when it's a relatively common thing to say.
Is it that common?
I think it is.
I've not heard anyone outside of this show. I have not heard anyone say that in over 15 years.
Oh, I have for sure.
Might not be common in Germany though.
Well, maybe not, I suppose. But, I mean, hey, the Matrix was probably big over there. Everyone loves Keanu.
Well, clearly it was big because of the reference in the Matrix, but it may not be common to say that all the time. I don't know. It never struck me as weird, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But she's like, "Oh wait, it's you," and she's like, got a hand up in the face, like, "Jonas," and it's the whole thing. And we come back to them later, and they're kind of explaining, and they're getting kind of close. So she's kind of leaning in a little bit, and rubbing his face, and we're kind of bonding a bit. And that's when Katharina starts banging on the door. Important to make that distinction there, given that one's using the other one's name. So Katharina starts banging on the door, and it's like, oh god, she's got to see them together. Treat him like he's been a predator.
When she comes in, she smashes through. Has she got a little axe, a little hatchet?
She's got something. She definitely smashes the window in.
Yeah, it looked like a hatchet to me, and I'm like, she came prepared for this.
Well, I assumed that she picked up a tool that was just in the the plants outside or something like that. Like there was a little.
Maybe.
But anyway, so she comes in and she sees them and pulls her, pulls Martha away from him, and is like, "Do you know who this is?" It's Jonas. "This man is Mikkel's son. He's your nephew and my grandson." And she looks at him, and Jonas just starts the tears start coming out of his face, and he's like, "I'm sorry. I
wanted to tell you."
Yeah, but it was difficult because we'd already had sex. He didn't say that, of course, but that's what he's thinking.
There's the implication, yeah.
Yeah. I get why he didn't want to just blot that out in front of Katharina, though.
Yeah. That's not something to tell the grandparents.
No. I mean, it'd be hard enough if they were both the same age right now, but the fact that he's standing there being about 40 really makes it
roughly the same age as his grandmother.
As his grandmother, yes. Well, I mean, the way she reacts does feel quite genuine. At the end of the scene, when she's like, keep your filthy hands off of her. Do you understand me? And she gives him that look. I'm like, oh, she's not playing. She is. she'll use that little hatchet on him if the occasion calls for it. But when she's demanding to know what the time travel device is, and he says, "I don't have it," Hannah took it. That's when Martha, pipes up and says, "Magnus has it. We have one, and we travelled." And she's like, "Wait, did you see him? Did you see Mikkel?" And she's like, "Wait, what?" And it's later on when she's explaining it to, because she phones Magnus, and Magnus, comes over with the device, and Katharina's, tinkering with it and looking at it. She explains to Magnus, we find out that she's been informed by her mother that no, both their father and Mikkel are alive. They're in different time periods, and that's finally become
everyone kind of up to speed now.
Which is why I'm more convinced than ever that we're having some kind of reset in the next episode, because like everyone knows everything now. I mean, as much as they can in terms of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's the appeal of not resetting that and going, okay, now everyone knows what the hell happens.
Well, it won't be everyone. Like, some people will remember. Like, the show's not going to continue without that, but I don't necessarily think that every character is going to still know all this information next season. But let's not gloss over the scene with the Dopplers, because that's when Magnus gets the phone call. He's with Francesca and Elizabeth. Joe's really funny. Joe's really funny. The other day I was watching Mystery Science Theater with Tara, right, for the next episode of The Ace.
Sure.
And there was a character in it called Heather, and at one point I referred to her as Elizabeth. And I started laughing, and I had to explain why it was so funny.
That is quite funny. Yeah.
And I didn't notice. I was corrected. I called her Elizabeth. No, you mean Heather. And I'm like, huh.
What is it with you and those names?
I don't know. I've never confused Heather and Elizabeth before, but here we are. But what's really neat about this is that Francesca, in the previous scene with the kids, said, "No, we have to tell someone because everyone's behind stuff from each other for all of these months, and it's gotten us nowhere. We have to start being honest." And then in this scene with her parents, she gets very frustrated, and I like how this plays out, given what she said earlier in the episode. She gets very upset at them because
they knew and didn't tell anyone.
They knew about time travel. She gets really upset about that, and then when Magnus finds out on the phone that Jonas is back, but he's older, and what I think next thing they say is like, "Oh, you should just really stay out of this. Leave it to us." And Francesca's like, "You knew this too? Like, you knew Jonas was back?" Like, and she storms out. Like, this is why Dad ended up having sex with whoever. Like, and storms out.
I think the thing is, I can kind of understand why you don't tell people, because you sound like you're bloody crazy.
Oh yeah. Like, I think it's understandable why they didn't, but at the same time, I get why Francesca's like livid about it, because especially in her family, because secrets have been like tearing their marriage apart for the last year or two or whatever it's been. Like, really, really interesting. So, I thought that was a good scene. And then, so yeah, we kind of leave off with the Nielsen family in present day have the time machine, and presumably are going to try and go back and get Mikkel and Ulrich.
And obviously fail.
Or perhaps maybe...
Well, at least fail on Mikkel's part.
Unless the apocalypse just happens and that stops them. Like, maybe they'll almost succeed and then...
Oh, it's possible.
You know, for all intents and purposes, they were about to win, but then... reset.
It is possible, yeah. I want to see Old Man Ulrich brought back to the present.
Now that you've said that, I do want a scene with Katharina and Old Man Ulrich. I want that encounter now.
Yeah, because he's a bit demented, isn't he?
Maybe even the whole family. Get Martha and Magnus in there. Let them see their dad.
Yeah, why not?
See his old ways. Real good. And does he bring up Hannah? Hannah came back to the 50s.
We'll even remember. Because he's clearly cracked, and it's starting to come back. I think things now in the 80s, but it seems like a lot of it he's just kind of he's broken, right?
He is broken. I don't know if I've ever got the impression that he's flat out forgotten where he came from, though. Like it's more like
no, I don't think he's forgotten where he came from, but he might have forgotten that encounter, or just thought he imagined that particular encounter.
Maybe it's pretty memorable. I mean, if he thinks he was just imagining it, then fair enough. But like, it's a pretty memorable meeting. Like the one chance he had to maybe get out.
No, I agree. It's memorable, like I say, but I think it is possible that after years, it's like, no, that can't have happened. That she would have got me out, something like that. And it's like, I must have imagined it, almost as a way of comfort himself.
We're at the point now where like a Katharina Hannah fight. A showdown is something I'm kind of interested in.
Yeah,
Well,
it's gonna be a biggie.
little bit. So they've got that. So that's what they're presumably going to be doing next episode. We'll mention Claudia, of course. Claudia's plot in the 80s with Egon, and she's been working on the thing. By the way, I almost had like a brain fart moment when she was like just recording into her tape recorder talking about the God particle or whatever, and there was a word that one of the words that popped up in the subtitles was giga electron volt, all one word, giga electron volt, and I thought, what the hell's a giga electron volt? That sounds great. I know what those all mean individually. Oh dear.
It's a fair thought to have.
Is it just a really big volt? A really big voltage? Is that
presumably?
Giga electron volt. So, what are you doing?
No, I was just thinking of when it was in a different bit. That's fine. Okay. Carry on.
Right, but she realizes it's now morning. It's the day before the apocalypse. It's the day where Egon is going to be found dead in his apartment, and she rushes over to see him. Says, "Oh, that's moved today." And I've got chemo to go to, my first chemo, and she's like, "Well, I'll go with you." And she's like, "Oh, that'd be nice." Yeah. And again, Egon's so happy, thinks his daughter loves him. I mean, she does, but like
do you know what is the saddest part about this all episode? Somehow she's causing it.
Yeah, no. Do you know what it was? It was. What was the scene where it clicked for me that it was definitely going to be her that causes it? It was, I think it's when they're at chemo, or maybe it was this first scene in the apartment. I don't know which one it was, but there was one of those moments where it just clicked that she's going to be the one that causes it.
She was too desperate to try and stop it. Where you just we've seen this story before.
Yeah, and it was probably
even in this show,
and it was probably going to be accidental, which it turned out to be. It wasn't intentional murder by any means, but. It turned out to be her, and I guess for the character this is a big deal because this is proving that things have to happen how they happened. Like the idea that she couldn't get out of it. But let's not gloss over the conversation and the chemotherapy because.
To say the event, it becomes kind of her core motivation for undoing it and stopping the loops is a version where she doesn't kill him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll get to that at the end because that's obviously what someone says to her, but. He actually brings up Back to the Future, and I love that this is like a contemporary. It's 2 years since it came out. And he's like, that film with the car.
I think the young fellow with the car.
Yeah, the young fellow with the car, and he starts talking about time travel.
She's just sat there going, "Yep, yeah, I know all this shit already. Come on."
I think that's underselling it because she looks so distressed as he's saying this. Like she's like on the verge of tears the entire time, and she's very anxious. She can't sit still. But she's now time travel's this real thing, and I think it's got to do with Mads and Heigl and the 50s and all this stuff, and she just keeps quiet about it. And it's when they get back to the apartment where she's so desperate to like get him moving and like move him out of the house that they have this kind of confrontation, and he kind of looks into her eyes and he sees the eyes, and this is maybe where we should probably go back to the 50s because before even Hannah shows up, he takes a photo of old Claudia's corpse to young Heigl, or Helga, sorry, not Heigl, Helga, and shows her the photo of the old Claudia, and like, do you know who this is? And he's like, oh, he told me about her. It's the White Devil, and the idea that Claudia is the White Devil, and I think what really hurts me about this revelation and Egon kind of looking at her eyes here in this scene right before the death is he's kind of realizing that that's her. I think he kind of knows in this moment and knows that she is quote unquote the White Devil, whatever that really means. And obviously that sounds like propaganda from like Noah and Adam to
does a little bit, doesn't it?
Demonize her or whatever. But this idea that she's this angel of death that was always going to cause his demise kind of thing, his entire life. It is really sad. And he loved his daughter. We saw him with his little Claudia.
And she definitely loved him as well. Like maybe she got a bit caught up in her work in the last few years of her life, by the sounds of it, and she hadn't been, going to see him very much. But it didn't change anything. And
it's worth mentioning, she lies in this scene when he tries to phone and say, phone the police or whoever to like go and check under the plant. and she stops him. She instead of saying what you're saying is true, there's time travel, and I'll explain why we can't do this. Just listen to me.
She's like, there's nothing under the cave. There's
No,
nothing in there.
well, it's not just that. She sells it as no, we've discovered something, and it's really important for the future of the planet and Discovery, and it has to be ours. Like she almost sells it the way he expects her to, as if it's like a career thing, and that actually disgusts him, and he says, "You haven't changed."
Yeah, no, I think the key point is where she says, "Oh no," and that's kind of ours, don't you? She doesn't want him to give it away to everyone for free. It's like, no, we can profit off that. It's the way it comes across as the phrasing.
Yeah, but it's just her trying to find a way to say it without admitting the truth. So inadvertently, by lying, she's made it more of a personal thing for him, and then that leads to his death. It leads to them to fighting over the phone, and he stumbles and hits his head. So it's a really sad scene. I mean, we knew it was coming. And of course, we'll still see. I mean, we'll probably still see this Egon next season again if we're resetting things. But we'll certainly see 50s Egon for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Here's the thing, just on this death. So we know that it was dead under mysterious circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I should think so. Yeah, with blood all over the phone and him lying there. And then we also know that from the newspapers that Claudia went missing, never to return.
Right after this, I assume.
Right after, would they not think? Do you know what? That looks suspicious.
I wonder if they did think that. They just, it was never like.
Maybe, but I feel like that's the sort of gossip that a local newspaper would love to print.
Yeah, I mean, her fingerprints would be all over that phone, but I guess she's someone who would be over there anyway, presumably. So
yes, that's plausible enough. But then just on, she just disappeared right as he's dead, mysterious. That's pretty damn suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, they probably did. They probably just didn't want the creators of the show just didn't want us to get that from the newspapers, so that's why it wasn't phrased that way.
Maybe, yeah.
They didn't want us to clock that it was going to be her that caused it. We got it throughout this episode because it was that impending kind of doom feeling, but they didn't want us to go, oh, well, it's clearly going to be her that does it then, because we would have done if it had said, oh, she goes mysteriously missing after father's death. It'd be like, well,
yeah, no shit.
But she comes home at the end. Regina's not there. She's over at friends. Yeah, probably the boyfriend. Let's be honest. And she's crying. And that's a great scene. She breaks down and crying before the big thing even happens. And I thought this was a really well acted scene. She's just so lost and doesn't know what to do. And then we hear the door unlock, and in walks. Oh, careful with the hiccups there. In walks Jonas, who young Jonas, who looks exactly basically like he did when he left with old Claudia from present day before. Although notably, the one key thing here that's different is his clothes. He is now wearing the dark green jacket of middle-aged Jonas.
Yes.
He has changed his attire. Old Claudia has given him a key, and he's here to collect and help middle-aged Claudia. Which, again, the weird cycle of this thing where...
It's another paradox of, Claudia taught Jonas so that he can teach her.
Old Claudia recruited Jonas, and now young Jonas is recruiting middle-aged Claudia.
Yeah.
Again, there's just paradox upon paradox, but
it really is.
He knows what she's just done. She realizes that fairly quickly, but then he says, "But you also said it didn't have to happen again next time." So again, even Jonas is like prepping now for, and this is what I think is interesting about Jonas this season, or at least this episode, is we've had a jump here with Jonas where he now is far more aware of things than we are. Up until this point, Jonas has been in the dark as much as we are as the audience, and he's been discovering things, and we've been discovering them along with him. With this moment, with this scene,
he's had a lot that we've not seen now.
Yeah, and it's not been a lot of time because he's still the same age, give or take. But he's learned so much with older Claudia that now it's like, oh, he's in on things and we're not.
Yeah, it makes sense because for most of the show, young Jonas has been our viewpoint for everything.
And the funny thing is I think it has in a lot of ways shifted to middle-aged Claudia. I think Claudia this season, that aged Claudia has been very much discovering things and learning things, and we've been along with that ride.
Jonas has been alongside her up until this point. Even for the rest of this season, I think everything in the future with Adam. We were right there with him for every moment. Whereas now he has, even to us, become the stranger.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. So that's how we end, because she says, "Where are we going?" or "When are we going?" And he's like, "The future." And does that mean 2020? Does that mean 2050? Whatever it is, like.
I'm suspecting the 50s, but I could be wrong.
The 2050s, yes. I usually
Yeah. Well, I
specify.
mean, we're already in the 50s, so.
Oh, we're not in the 80s.
Oh yeah, you're right. Damn. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they specify, because we have two 20s now and two 50s, so we have to really specify which ones
we do.
We're going to, even if it seems obvious at face value.
Having to specify for the 50s.
Well, that's the weird thing, just about the world, is we're about to hit the 20s again, and it's like, oh, now when we say 20s and 30s, we're going to have to like
actually establish which ones we mean.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a ball, like, isn't it?
Like, did people like in like 1920 still refer to like the 80s and 90s of the 1880s and the 1890s, or did people just not use those terms? And this is just a problem for us.
They probably didn't use those terms. Also, they were probably referring to things 100 years ago a lot less than we are now. Given that we're, with the internet, we're all kind of readily available to see those events. We can watch plenty of films from those time periods. We can talk about movies from the 1920s quite comfortably.
Yeah, it's kind of the dawn of like information, the way we consume it is around that period. Yeah,
so yeah, I doubt they'll have this. They had the same problem as we're going to
have. I mean, assuming we live healthy, long lives, we'll make the 50s. We'll be talking about.
Yeah, you know how every so often we do a list. It's like best films of the 50s. We're gonna actually have to specify. Okay, 1950s, not 2050s.
Oh, I can just imagine us in 2060. Right, I'll just hit 70. I think. No, I'll just hit 60, not 70. 60. I'll be 61. I'll have hit 61 that year, and we'll be doing
in what year? Sorry.
Then 2050.
2050, yeah.
Oh no, I'm talking about the end of the. So yeah, I will be 71 because it'll be. Yeah, 2060. I'm talking about. Yeah, so the end of the 50s.
So you'll be 70.
71, and we'll be doing our top 10 of the year, or the top 50 of the decade. We'll do top 50 the 2050s.
Yeah. We're gonna come all the way back. We're gonna talk about Dark, and we'll be like, "Hey, look, 33 years ago, we were talking about this."
Oh,
cycle
man.
continues.
Obviously, we're not old enough to have like photos from 33 years ago because neither of us are that old. But
you're close.
Shut up. Okay, yeah, because me as a baby is like a interesting thing to compare to. But like, I'm just thinking like, oh yeah, in 33 years' time, we should compare photos, like just a video. Like, just compare this to what
we're gonna remember
in 33 years. Someone make a note. Someone make a note in the Google Doc, Google Calendar. Put it in. And if the apocalypse hasn't happened, we'll do it.
Yeah. It's a deal.
Anyway, we should talk a little bit of the Inspector and Alexander. That plot kind of
not the Inspector, meaning Ulrich.
No, not Ulrich. No. The Inspector.
Sorry, I was really for a second. I was confused.
The Inspector, whose name I don't know, which is why I'm calling him the Inspector. Hold on.
Detective may have been a better choice.
Detective. Yeah. Clausen. That's it. Clausen. He arrests Alexander because they look up their name registries and whatnot and discover a bit of hicklety-picklety. And he arrests him, and we get this big interview scene, this big interrogation scene.
In the arresting scene, I really enjoyed that because he shows him the identity. He's like, something seemed wrong there. So, no, he points out it's really subtle. It's the height, right? It's like, oh, that says 5'8". You're what, top 5'6"? So where'd they go?
Do you know what's funny? He doesn't actually look 5'6". He looks taller than that to me.
Yeah, but it's one of those weird things where you have no context for how tall someone. You need a baseline, right? But now if we know he's 5'6", we can kind of work everyone off of that.
Yeah, it's just weird because like I guess everyone in the show is just short or shortish then, because I always felt Alexander was a regular average height good dude, and 5'6" isn't like tiny or anything like that.
I have a question on the choice of measurements there. So obviously we comfortably use feet and inches for height on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Does Germany? Because I'm fairly sure. He said, "Oh, where did they go?" And he's like, "Where what go? The other 2 inches." I am 90% sure I heard him say centimeters.
Well, they probably just translated it then so that we'd
Yeah.
understand it.
That's what I mean. But what I thought was interesting is you could have still done that in centimeters, and gone. The context of it still would have worked.
It still plays better.
Fair enough. I mean,
because it's how we talk about it. Like, I get what you're saying, I don't care.
Fair enough.
I hate talking about height in centimeters. It's so stupid. 160, 170. I don't know what these look like.
Yeah, that's fair. To be fair, the British are particularly bad for this. That we just jump between measurements all the time. Like we'll use feet and inches for like height. But then and we'll use centimeters for often if we're measuring small things. Like
DIY. If you're doing
DIY,
measurements,
yeah. So, something specific that has to be that. We'll use centimeters and millimeters, and then we'll jump back to miles for distance. Weight, we will jump between stone and pounds and kilograms depending depending on the context of what we're weighing.
If we're talking about food, we're weighing food, it's kilograms.
Yeah, but people is in stone.
Yes. So yeah.
We're terribly inconsistent, is all I'm saying.
But they all feel right. They all feel like that's what you talk about that thing in. You talk about that thing in this.
To us, absolutely, yeah.
That's what you talk about this thing in. It's just how it makes sense. Yeah. So we finally find out what Carlson,
what he's doing here,
or Clausen, what he's doing here. Because at first I was like, this is a bit coincidental that you came looking for where your brother, because it turns out the identity that he stole, Alexander, from whatever his original name was,
Kohler, I believe.
Right, that identity he stole is this guy's brother, and he's been looking for 33 years essentially for where his brothers went, and that's why he volunteered. Because he volunteered for this position. So that makes sense. And I was thinking this is a bit weird, but then he pulled out the letter. So someone in the know has actually lured him here. They've lured him here with this letter so that he will come and cause this disruption. And that is interesting.
Still don't know. It looked like quite an old letter, didn't it? Because it was all yellowed.
Yeah, it did. It was folded differently than the way Michael folded his stationery, but at the same time, it looked kind of similar in style.
I can see that.
But it was folded differently, so that maybe suggested it was someone different. Does that suggest that it is as simple as Hannah, who knows about the identity, used some of Michael's old stationery and did this herself?
Maybe. Don't know what purpose she would have had for it.
It's the most simplistic, boring answer that Hannah just did it, but
yeah.
it's possible.
It is. It is. This became more interesting though, because it's like, oh no, he's looking for his brother, and it's like, okay. I love the whole thing of it was really hard to track Alexander because of the the changing the name, the surname. And he's like, but I did he did the same thing when his parents was, he changed to his mother's name, which obviously threw a wrench in that. And he's like, to some people he's unfindable, and the idea of people being unfindable is kind of a big thing. Like, okay, when are people? It makes them very hard to track, and we're talking about like who is everyone? All these identities we're kind of unraveling as we're going. It felt very much like this was, even if he's not as directly tied to some of them as maybe others are, thematically it's still very similar.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe we'll end up being part of the timey-wimey shenanigans.
Maybe, yeah.
Also, it's worth mentioning that we've had a lot of comments on a few episodes about the man that young Noah kills at the start of the season in the 20s, if you remember that scene with the axe.
Yes.
A lot of people theorizing that is an older Bartos.
It could be. I mean, we've got very little to actually go on at this point.
I think based largely on the dialogue and how what he looks like. Basically, like, this looks like it could be older Bartos.
I'll be honest, I don't remember what he looks like or the dialogue well enough.
To be honest, though, I think what he looks like is a valid thing to go on, because they've actually done such a good job of casting the different time periods for like the same characters that I can buy that as a reason on this show.
absolutely.
A lot of them do look suitably close enough that they could be the same person.
Some of them are like, yeah, that's close enough. Some of them, like the Ulrich actors,
scarily close.
Oh, we because at first we weren't even sure if it was different actors on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the one cases where they're different, like Egon, like you get away with it because he's put on a lot of weight, in 33 years. So,
that's the thing. Your appearance can change quite drastically in 33 years. It pretty much should change relatively drastically because that's how it works.
In 33 years, when we compare ourselves, we'll see how much we've changed. I expect it'll be similar, but with much whiter hair.
Yeah, I'll be very grey, and you'll probably have none left.
Joe, it's easy to crack that joke, but my hairline's not changed in like years.
Okay, fair enough. But it's just saying it's not exactly all there yet. Still, is it? It's kind of gone back enough that it's plausible to assume it might go more.
Everyone always says that, but like everyone in like my family has this hairline. Like every one of them.
I think. Do you know? I think you'll be one of those who loses more on the top. You'll keep the sides. So you got the kind of the ring around the back and the side. So I think that's what you'll end up. So you'll lose more. You'll go further back.
Okay.
You won't go completely.
We'll find out in 33 years. We'll find out if that's happened.
Yeah. It's a strong prediction.
Assuming I don't just decide to start shaving it, which I don't think I will, because I can't be arsed doing that. Like, because you have to do like every few days. Like, oh, no.
You could get laser removal on your head.
I don't care enough to do any of this. Everyone always acts like it's a big deal. I don't give a shit.
I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying you could. That was if laziness was the reason.
No. Whatever. Anyway, is there anything else we've missed in this episode? Any plot lines? I think we talked about all the main ones.
Yeah, we talked about the kids. We talked about Hannah. We talked about Claudia. It's kind of all of them, really.
Jonas and Martha and
yeah,
and Egon and yeah.
I was kind of wrapping them in with the like Egon. I was wrapping in with Claudia.
Just go through the likely suspects. All right. Well, I guess that wraps up the penultimate episode of the season, and we are, we have this big climatic episode to go. I'm sure it'll melt our brains. These episodes have been very good at like dosing out like one big thing each episode that makes us go, what? Like this one's Hannah staying in the past. It's like, okay, who's she really to?
Well paced in that regard.
What one was, like, wait, Magnus is in the 20s and he's old? What?
And it's not done anything with that yet.
Yeah, we don't even, we have nothing apart from that one scene so far with that stuff.
Yeah.
So very intrigued to see where we go with this stuff. In the finale. But let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month, and you get bonuses, extras, and other stuff, and you get to keep the warm satisfaction, that mildly fuzzy feeling of keeping everything coming and being produced. But that is us. Stranger Things is coming this week. In fact, we'll probably have the first episode of that up before we have the final of this up, because we're a day behind compared to where we were supposed to be.
Yes.
Why are we a day behind, Connor?
Don't know. Time is a fickle beast.
Ginger's falling asleep is a fickle beast, more like.
Gingers don't do well in heat. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, so we'll see you for the finale in a few days' time. We will be recording it on Friday. And then
news to me.
And we'll have that up late Friday, early Saturday. Yeah. Well, I mean, the executive decision. Friday.
You just really want to watch it, don't you?
No, I'm just not willing to delay it. It'll be Friday. So that is us. Thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?